Hey, this is Alicia Chapman, Olympic gold medalist with the Canadian women's national team, and we've got Joe Tilley Sports coming up.
Coming up on today's show, a Canadian racing legend, Sandy Hawley. He was the best. And Jason Portuondo. We're going to preview Canada's biggest race, the Queen's Plate. Don't miss it. Joe Tilley Sports coming up. Yes, it's Queen's Plate week, and we are talking horses. Yes, indeed. Two special guests. First of all, let me introduce to you. He was born in Oshawa, began riding at the age of 17. He won 6,450 career races, over $88 million in purses. He was a top rider in North America 4 times. He was the first jockey to win 500 races in one calendar year. He was a 4-time winner of the Queen's Plate, an 8-time winner of the Woodbine Oaks, an Eclipse winner, a 2-time winner of the Lou Marsh Award as Canada's top athlete. He is a member of the U.S. Racing Hall of Fame, the Canadian Racing Hall of Fame, the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame. He is a member of the Order of Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Sandy Hawley. Welcome to the program, Sandy.
Thank you very much, Joe. Great to be on. Thank you.
Hope I didn't miss anything. All right, our next guest. He graduated from Seneca College in 1996. He's a sports reporter at 680 News for a long period of time. He's a sports anchor at The Score, Sportsnet, trackside reporter for TSN and CTV, co-host of Talkin' Horses, Sovereign Award-winning show, host of G98.7 FM radio, Canadian correspondent at TVG, horse racing analyst and host at Woodbine Entertainment Group for all horse racing. Ladies and gentlemen, our good friend Jason Portuondo. Jason, welcome to the program.
Joe, I really appreciate it, but I'm not worthy to be in such great company. 2 living legends, and then you have me. Thank you, though. Thank you.
Oh, Jason, don't cut yourself short, buddy. You know your stuff. Cutting yourself short is not a slip of the tongue. It was just
Yeah, thanks.
All right, guys.
Yeah. Great resume.
We're going to keep everything short today. I'm going to keep everything short today.
Okay. Yeah, please do.
That problem.
Yeah, okay. Okay. First of all, Sandy, I want to talk a little bit about your amazing career. First of all, tell us about what was your favorite memory, most amazing moment that you can recall from the racetrack.
You know what? It was probably 1978 Queen's Plate on Regal Embrace. About 10 years before that, I was at Winfield Farms looking for a job. I was thinking about becoming a jockey. I wanted to meet Mr. E.P. Taylor, but unfortunately didn't get a chance to do that at that time. But I met a trainer by the name of Duke Campbell, who took me under his wing, taught me the fundamentals about racing and riding and becoming a jockey. And in 1978, Regal Embrace was owned by E.P. Taylor. So here I am in the winner's circle with Mr. E.P. Taylor. I was at his farm like 10 years before that. The biggest race in Canada, of course, with the biggest owner in Canada as well. So that was one of my greatest thrills.
Can you recall the toughest race you ever had? I know you got injured a few times. It's a tough sport.
You know what? It really is, Joe. And we're actually the only sport, as you know, that has an ambulance follow you around. So that was pretty tough. But anyways, probably my worst spill, Joe, was, it was about 4 years before I retired, and I retired in 98. So it was probably around 1993, 1994. Unfortunately, I had a filly flip over with me in post parade and landed on top of me. And it ended up broke my pelvis, shattered my vertebrae, severed my urethra, separated my shoulder, and broke ribs. Other than that, Joe, I was okay.
No, that's all. Yeah, I guess it would have a little bit of effect on you as going forward. Do you still have some aches and pains from those days?
You know what? Not too bad. I'm one of the lucky ones. My wife Carew was a jockey as well, and we're lucky to make it through. I rode for 30 years. Carew rode for 15 years, and we were lucky to make it safe and sound and be able to get around okay. I think now I'm 72 years old, so got a few aches and pains here and there with arthritis and stuff like that, but. I don't think any real bad after effects from running.
Well, we all have a few of those aches and pains, Sandy. That's just part of the deal. Uh, I want to ask, well, Jason, is there anything else you want to weigh in here about Sandy's career before we continue on?
I was just going to ask him. I mean, obviously, winning the plate is huge, Sandy. But did you have a particular horse that was your most, fun? It doesn't have to be a horse that won a big race for you, but is there a horse that you enjoyed the most throughout that great career?
You know what? There've been a lot of them, Jason. It's really hard to name one, but there was a horse that I rode in California. His name was Shankite, and Shankite
Okay.
was he was a stake horse. He set a couple of track records. He was a really good horse, and amazingly, I think I rode him almost every start of his career. I rode this horse like 30 times, and as you guys know, you maybe ride a horse 5, 6, maybe 7, 8 times at the
Right.
most. But and he was so cool, calm, and collected in post parade. Like you ride a lot of horses in post parade, and they actually tire you out before you get to the starting gate. But Shankite, he could have ponied the pony. That's how quiet he was. And once he got to the starting gate, he come out like he could run. So he was probably my favorite horse.
And
Now,
Joe, I was going to
Sandy,
say
you
quickly,
had, okay, yeah, go ahead, Jay.
just quickly, I was going to say, of all of Sandy's wins, by far my most favorite, believe it or not, number 6450, watching that Legends race in California. That was so
Right.
special. I got so many, boost gumps. You heard me right, boost gumps. That's what I got. So
Boost Gumps,
yeah, that was my favorite.
Forest
Thanks, Dave.
Gumps. Well,
Yeah.
Vic,
You know what? That was
I think I might have sent you a little bit of that race if you want to, if you can roll it, Vic. Some of that Legends race where Sandy was on the facing the best of the best. Who was, I think, Lafitte Pinkai. Who was in the field that day?
Well, Pinkai actually didn't ride in the race because he had broken his neck in his last ride. But Cordero, McCarran, there's so many others. Julie Crone, Jacinto Vasquez, Pat Day, Jerry Bailey. It was such an honor to be able to be in that race, and of course that's me in front on a horse
What
called
was his
Tribal
name
Chief.
again, Sandy? Was it Tribal Chief or something like that?
Tribal Chief.
Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
So what a great idea, right? To put a race like this together.
Oh,
Uh,
I love
oh,
it.
and then
Well,
of course the Canadian boy wins. That was nice.
well, Pinkai called me about a month before the race, and he asked me if I was interested in doing it. And I said, yeah, for sure. I said, well, what an honor to be named with those riders. I said, if you get it put together, let me know. He called me about a week later, and he said, we got the race together. And I hung up the phone, and he says, oh, crap, I haven't ridden a horse for a month, or for 10 years. So he was a
Really?
little nervous.
A
Wow,
month.
that's amazing.
And guys like Pat Day and Jerry Bailey, they said, I'll never do this again. I can't believe I'm doing it now. But
Right.
But you
as you can
guys look
see,
great. This is awesome. Oh my gosh.
Look at
pretty nice.
you
I could
go,
watch
man.
this
This is
forever.
awesome.
Opening up on them with a 16th to go, and Sandy Hawley and Tribal Chief romping home, 59 years old. Sandy Hawley still got it. Jerry Bailey and
So 13 years ago,
59
Sandy, how
years
tired
old.
were you after the race?
You know what? I wasn't bad, Jason. Of course,
Wow.
when you have a horse that's stopping, it's a lot different than
Right.
you have a horse that's he was running through the stretch. Like I was just the passenger, and he took me from gate to wire, and he was just a really easy horse to ride. It's funny. He was owned by Herb Albert from the Tijuana Brass, and
Oh
Yes.
actually
God,
his brother
really?
Herb Albert wasn't there, but his brother was there, and his brother said, "We're going to run this horse back in a month. If you want to come back, you can ride him again." I go, "No,
Well,
that'd
were
be
you
two
tempted
horses."
just a little bit? Were you tempted just
You
a
know
little
what?
bit? I mean,
I was a little bit, yeah. I kind of thought about it for a second, but then I realized, holy cow, I'm gonna have to stay in shape for another month, and it was, you know what? I weighed 120 when Pinkai called me, and after I found out that the race was going to take place, I started working out more. Actually, I lived across the road from Winfield Farms, believe it or not, and I started getting on some of their 2-year-olds in the morning.
Oh,
So that kind of got me in shape again, and I did some exercises a lot for my legs, because first thing to go is your legs, of course your cardiovascular as well. But getting on
right.
the horse at Winfield really helped a lot. Going to the gym and working on my legs helped a lot, and Tribal Chief was running through the stretch, so actually my legs felt great. Of course, my cardio, I was pretty tired after the race, but at the same time, the adrenaline's going, the blood's pumping, and it felt great.
Well, that was such a what a great moment that was. Now, I wanted to ask you about something else, Sandy, because many years ago now, you had one of your toughest battles, and that was with cancer, right? And you were given a
Yeah.
pretty grim diagnosis, as I recall. Tell us about what that diagnosis was, and then what happened after that.
Geez, I think that's about 36 years ago now, Joe, but I remember back then, I actually was riding in Minnesota, and my agent, John DeSantis, we were at the beach one day, and he noticed a mole on my back that didn't look too good. So we had like another month to go at the Canterbury meet, Canterbury Downs back then, Canterbury Park now. But I said, oh, when I go back to California, I'll have that looked at. So you never look at your own back. So I'm trying to look in the mirror to see that mole, and it did. It was black, and it didn't look good. So when I got back to California a month later, I had the mole taken out by a plastic surgeon. He said, oh, I'm going to send it away for a biopsy. And I said, what is it? And he said, well, I won't know till after the biopsy. So the biopsy took about a week to happen. So while it was being biopsied, I actually rode a horse at Keeneland, and one of the jockeys that was in the shower after the races, he said, "Oh, what's that scar on your back?" And I said, "Oh, I had a mole taken off and sent it away to be analyzed." And I asked the doctor, what it was, and he didn't know. I'm going to get the biopsy in about a week, and he said, "Well, it wasn't malignant melanoma, was it?" Amazingly, he knew what malignant melanoma was. I didn't even know what it was at the time, and I said, "No, he just told me to stay out of the sun." Well, lo and behold, I go back to California. A week later, my biopsy is ready. I go in, and the plastic surgeon said, I've got bad news for you. That mole was malignant melanoma, and it was in its 5th level. And, I was thinking about what that
Wow.
jockey said in the shower. And here I am, I'm driving home by myself. I was going through a divorce at the time. But actually, when I was driving home by myself, it's crazy some of the things you think about. But what went through my mind is what that jockey said, that his buddy had malignant melanoma and he only lasted for 2 months. And I'm thinking to myself, man, wow, maybe I only have 2 months to live. I'm not going to know who's going to win the Stanley Cup this year. But I know
Yeah,
Jason's
it
a big
wasn't the least.
fan, and I'm a big Leafs fan, and it wasn't Boston or Toronto that year. I know that.
Right.
But luckily, I ended up going to Dr. Malcolm Mitchell, who is my oncologist. He started a trial vaccine on me, which was experimental, and it worked. And I owe my life to Dr. Malcolm Mitchell.
Wow. I mean, how did you? What did? I mean, what did you do in addition to going and seeing Dr. Mitchell and having him give you the experimental treatment? What else did you do to help yourself along the way to help get rid of this thing?
That's a good question, Joe, because I did. I changed my diet. Um, I was riding in California, had a divorce, and decided, you know what, I'm coming back. I'm going back to Canada. An only child. My parents lived in Canada, so I thought, what the heck, I'll go back to Canada. So I did. I went back to Canada, and I was riding at Woodbine and Fort Erie. I think Greenwood may have still been open at that time. I'm not sure now. But anyways, I went back to Canada. Was by my parents and everything, not knowing how much time I would have to live. And an owner, I'm trying to remember his name now. He he owned a lot of condo horses. He was king of the condos, and he actually gave me a book on there was a doctor, Dr. Sadalero, who had melanoma. He had other types of cancers as well. He ended up going to a guy called Michio Kushi, who started a way of eating in the United States, I guess, probably 40 years ago now. And this book inspired me. And so I started eating macrobiotically, and I did that for about 2 years. Then I became vegetarian for about 20 years. And then I started introducing, once I got a clean bill of health, I started introducing a little bit of meat into my diet. I don't eat that much meat now, mostly vegetables and fish and stuff like that. So I might remember by the end of the show, I might remember that owner's name. But he was a real inspiration for me. And when I decided to become macrobiotic, my mother really helped me with it. And I think that helped save my life too, Joe.
Well, that's a real awesome story. At what point, Sandy, did you realize, that I got this beat?
Well, it was a few years, Joe, because it actually spread, because it started on my back, of course, and they took a large area off my back. Then about 6 months later, it spread to the left side of my neck. And then a few months after that, it went to my lung. And Dr. Mitchell wasn't as worried about it spreading to my lung, because he said it doesn't usually spread from the lung anywhere else. So he let it go for 2 or 3 years. And then I had an operation on my lung because it started growing a little bit in my lung. And he took a lobe out. And then I continued with the vaccine shots for another 2 or 3 years. So I would say maybe 8 or 10 years after I was diagnosed, I felt like I think I've got this beat. So it was a while of worrying, that's for sure.
Well,
anytime
36
I had a
years
lump
ago,
or a bump,
right?
It was scary.
36 years ago, you were given a scary diagnosis. You thought maybe you had a couple months to live, and here you are at 36. I mean, you got 2 great boys, and you got a great life, and you've had so much
Yeah.
happen to you. That's just such a wonderful story, Sandy. You're just I'm sure you are an inspiration for a lot of people who are going through similar stuff right now. Jason,
I
do you
think
want to
that
weigh in
guy's
on anything here?
gentleman's name, the owner, I think his name was Marty Atkins. Marty Atkins, he was
Marty
king of the
Atkins,
condos
the condo king,
back then.
king of the
The
condos.
condos.
Okay,
Wow.
Marty Atkins,
Yeah.
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 the condo
It
king.
was
Great point,
Okay,
though, Joe. I was gonna say that
yeah.
for everything Sandy did for racing fans on the track, hearing that human interest story, just takes it to another level, Sandy, because obviously racing's fun. It's real life, but in a way it's just an escape from reality at times. So yeah, the fact that you went through that as well. I mean, you're such an inspiration in so many ways. And like Joe just said, now hearing that for others out there that could be struggling, through their own little battle, whether it be through cancer or any other sickness, hey, never give up. So yeah, I didn't realize it was that detailed of a situation with you, Sandy. I knew obviously of the cancer, but I had no idea. So yeah, wow, that's amazing stuff.
Dodged a lot of bullets, that's for sure.
Yep.
Been very
Yep.
lucky.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
But you know what?
you're a good man, Sandy.
Well, it was
Yeah.
funny, because I remember one time when I was a young rider, I think it was into 2 or 3 years into riding, I started getting warts on my hands for some reason. So I used to actually tape them up. And I remember I was riding for Mr. Cavaleris one time, and Mr. George Gardner, he said to me, he said, Sandy, how come you tape up all your fingers? And I said, well, Mr. Gardner, I said, I have warts on my hands, and sometimes they crack open and they bleed and they get sore. And he said, well, you know what, I'm going to send you to my doctor. So Mr. Gardner sent me to his doctor, and his doctor actually took a sample of one of my warts. He made up a vaccine with my own wart, and he gave me shots. Within 2 months, the wart started disappearing and never came back. So when I found out that I was going to get the vaccine shots from Dr. Mitchell, I'm not sure if it was mentally or whatever it was. I thought about when it worked on my warts, I said, this is going to work. This is going to work. It's experimental, but that vaccine worked for my warts. I think it can work on my melanoma.
Right. And the positive thinking aspect of it is very important. I mean, we do have to keep a positive
100%.
attitude when we're
Yep.
going through that kind of stuff too. Well, let's talk about the Queen's Plate, which is a race that you won 4 times. Sandy, the first thing I want to ask you is, like, from a rider standpoint, what does it take to win the Queen's Plate?
You know what? You have to have a horse that's able to go a mile and a quarter. Of course, none of the horses have gone a mile and a quarter before, so you have to have a horse. I think, Joe, that is relaxed the first part, and the filly that won the Oaks, she looked really good in winning the Oaks,
Money for
and
rope. Yeah.
you know what, Money for Row. I didn't get to see the race. Unfortunately, I'm here in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm a long ways from horse racing Woodbine. Didn't get to see the race, but at the same time, was she relaxed, Jason, the first part? Did she come from off the pace?
Yep. She looked really good. I mean, her start prior, Sandy, she was in the Celine, and she was simply second best to an American bred. So obviously, American breds can't compete
Wow.
in our big race. But not only did she relax, she won comfortably, and she went 2 full seconds faster than Avelman did on the same day, winning the
Wow.
plate trial. So, I mean, it'll cost $25,000 to supplement her, but to me, that's a no-brainer. You got to give it a shot, in my opinion.
Even break.
That would definitely be worth it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
This
With
is a small
wind,
field. This is the Queen's Plate trial. This is a plate trial, and Avaman.
well, with Windburn out of there now, Joe, you mentioned that he's scratched. With him out, I think the filly looks really good. If I could ride any horse in a race, I think it would be the filly now.
What do you think, Jason? What do you is Avelman? I mean, you mentioned it was 2 seconds slower the pace
Yeah,
the plate trial than it was for the Oaks. Is
yeah.
Avelman a course
So
you consider?
100%. I mean, now I mentioned the time just because it is a fact, but take into consideration because there was only 4 in the plate trial, it basically turned into a morning gallop, and then they sprinted for home. So don't read too much into the 2 full seconds because unlike the Oaks, this plate trial, as you can see, just a foursome. So, like I said, it's a rider's race. There's not much going on, Sandy, as you know. But when you get
Yeah.
a fuller field, there's a lot more happening up front. So, Avelman this day was ridden by Antonio Gallardo for the first time, and Gallardo all of a sudden has himself a plate mount. And I know the trial isn't a huge prep. I mean, I think it's still all the way back to 2010. Big Red Mike, the last horse to win the trial, and then to go on to win the plate. So not a key prep, but still,
Wow.
the way he did it was impressive. And he threw his hat into the ring for Donnie McRae and company. So
You
take
know what?
nothing away from the horse. He got it done.
That's great observation, Jason. Because yeah, if the pace had been quicker, yeah, chances are the race would have been much quicker. If the
Right.
pace is slow, then when they come down the stretch, of course, and as you said, he didn't have to do any more than what he did. So, if he was tested, he could have went a little bit quicker. So, it really opens everything up. With Windburn out of the race, it's really a wide open race now. A great betting race.
Right. Where is Weyburn going, Jason? Do we know yet? I heard
We
there's
don't
talk
know
about the Pennsylvania Derby, maybe the
Travers.
He was
Travers.
thinking
Yeah,
about going.
right.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah. So the big thing with Weyburn, obviously he's Canadian bred, obviously. That's why he's, legit. And he was the winner book favorite in terms of this year's Queen's Plate. But Chiefswood Stable, they're really looking for black type. They really want to get a horse that, has finished in the top 3 in a major stakes, right? So they've got that now. I mean, he won the Gotham Stakes and he has competed oh so well. The Jim Dandy, okay, wasn't his greatest effort. Doesn't blemish at all his Canadian resume, that's for certain. He's never been here in Canada. We don't know about this horse on synthetic, but where he's been and where he could have been on August 22nd, I think would have made him the definitive choice. And, when you get that close to probably what's going to be the eventual Derby winner in Mandaloun, I know we got to go through a bunch of litigation. Could take years. And Sandy, you know what
Right.
happened back in the day with Jim Bannon's horse, right? So that
Yeah.
takes a long time with Dancer's Image to figure that back in the day to figure that out. But Weyburn now, like I said, for them the breeding is what they're looking forward to, and the more black tape you can get on his resume, the more impressive it'll be. But without Weyburn, wide open. So maybe Pennsylvania Derby. I'm thinking Travers. We'll find out.
And I know Rob Landry wishes
Right.
he was still. He'd be riding
Rob
him for
Landry.
Chiefwood Stables.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, I've heard that perhaps we might have a full field, like maybe 17. Jason, what are you hearing?
Last I heard, Joe, 16. Collective Force has since subtracted his name from the equation, so down to a field of 16. So still a full field of 14 and one gate. You're still going to need that auxiliary gate with at least a couple more. Who knows? Some might wake up, draw a day, and say, hey, why not? It is anybody's guess, Joe. I mean, anybody's guess. Right now, of the field of 16, I can seriously make a good case for half the field. That's how wide open it is. Just like last year with Mighty Heart, right?
What a great betting race, eh? Like, this is
Oh,
fantastic.
yep. Yep. No standout.
Somebody's going to win a lot of money here. I think I've got a feeling. So yeah, Muddy Heart. What a great surprise that was. Last year's Queen's Plate. I think we have some video of that, Vic. Last year's Queen's Plate race with Muddy Heart when they didn't have fans in the stands. And the great
Mm-hmm.
thing about this is we're going to have some fans in the stands this year. But the story was last year, of course, Muddy Heart, the one-eyed horse with the big heart that it really kind of came out of nowhere. Were you? I mean, you were stunned as was everybody, right, Jay?
100%. I knew it was a wide open race, but some others in there were, getting way more attention, and for the right reason. Here's a horse that didn't do much going into the plate. Basically had that one win at Woodbine, which kind of piqued some interest. But Larry Cordes, Josie Carroll, Daisuke Fukumoto, they were confident going in. And Sandy, as you know from riding this race a ton of times, it's not easy to go pillar to post going a mile and a quarter like that.
No, it's not. Kennedy Road. He went pretty well wire to wire, but he was an exception. But yeah, it is going a mile and a quarter. You're right, Jason. You need a horse that can really relax, and it looked like he really relaxed that day, and that's the thing that it takes going a mile and a quarter. But I would like a horse that is relaxed, that's maybe laying about fourth or fifth, just off the pace. That would be the ideal spot.
Yeah, and the
So
fractions,
Mighty
Joe,
Heart.
that day
Okay,
23,
yeah, go ahead.
47, 112 and change. I know it was a speed favoring surface, but still, he battles back at this point, top of the stretch. I thought they were going to swallow him up. Here comes Clayton Tecumseh's War, the filly Curlin's
Right.
Voyage trying to complete the Oaks plate double. But yeah, no, I mean, he just
Well,
refused to lose. And of course, as we all know now, the start of a great story.
well, that's right. They put the pressure on him.
Yeah, they did. And look at him
Well,
accelerate here. Like, I mean, he had a lot left.
Regal Embrace was another horse that went pretty well wire to wire, and
Okay.
I knew that Overskate would be flying at the end, but
Yeah.
I ended up on the lead, and like you say, Jason, the pace was really slow. I remember going around the final turn that he was going so easy, and I just thought, what the heck? I'm just going to ask him to run now, just try and open it
Yep.
up as far as I can because I know Overskate is going to
Get
be
the jump.
charging. So
Yep.
I moved on about the 3/8 bowl to get him rolling, and yeah,
That's awesome.
we got lucky and held on.
Now, and Mighty Heart ended up winning like 2/3 of the Triple Crown. Didn't quite get it done in the breeders, but that was a real nice story and Canada's Horse of the Year for obvious reasons. And yeah, really good story. Um,
Oh,
so now,
sure.
breaking down this field a little bit more, with the Weyburn out of there, certainly opens it up. Some of the other horses that we're looking at, maybe, of course, the filly and Money Farrow, Keep Grinding is a Tino Attard trained horse. There's a horse that Sandy, I know we were talking about before we came on the air.
Mhm.
That's a horse that you thought might be a one we'd be watching.
Well, that's a great story too, owned by his grandson, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Of course, Tino's got one in there, and Kevin, he's going to have some in there as well. So it really is a great Attard story too. I love the Attards. They've been great for Canadian horse racing for sure. It uh, it really is a wide open race. Tio Magico, he's a good one too. Samson Farms, I think, has three in there. You can never leave them out.
correct. Yeah.
It's going to be a very, very exciting race. And as you mentioned, again, Joe, it's going to be a great betting race for the public.
Um, Jason, some other courses we might think about here, maybe safe conduct, paleo. Um, we talked about the Attard trainees. There's two other
Yep.
Kevin Attard trainees, H.C. Holiday, Truffle King. Um,
Yeah. Adasa. Kevin
it,
could have like
yeah,
5 of them in there. So it's a complete Attard family affair. So Kevin, 4 or 5. His son, Joshua, owns Keep Grinding. His dad, Tino, trains Keep Grinding. Solid second in the Marine, by the way. That's open company, Joe. And the American bred Easy Time won that race for Breeze Easy Stables, trainer Mark Cassie, Rafael Hernandez. And don't forget about Sid Attard, because Uncle Sid has Riptide Rock for Team Stronach. That's a horse I think is kind of lurking in the weeds. So yeah, we could talk forever. I don't know how long we can get for this show, Joe, but we could go on forever about Queen's Plate number 162.
It's a good question, Joe. Is both you guys, if you were jockeys, if you could ride any horse in a race, which horse would it be? Because you want a horse that's just off the pace. You want a horse
Yeah.
that's been running great. I mean, I know you probably have 2 or 3 choices, but I'd like to ride the filly.
I think that would be my choice too. And I guess if I was going to be picking this race, I think that's the one I'm going to be picking. I'm going to go with the filly, just because and we talked about it. I think actually we might have some visit that. Do we have any visit the Woodbine Oaks, Vic? Get a chance to see what Moneyful Row
She was
looked like.
impressive.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Post 10. So
that's
she's on the left hand portion of the screen there in the red, and she kind of broke a little bit outwards, and Justin takes her to the back. So right now she can see them all, basically, Joe. And yeah,
yeah.
so she can rate.
Eh,
She can rate. Now you watch the race. She's kind of picking them up early here, and this is also good for her because she's getting a lot of tapita thrown in her face, right? As you know, Sandy, a lot of horses don't like that, the kickback, right? They can shy away from it, so
Right.
it can make the
That's right.
rider's job that much more difficult. You start fighting with the horse, and all of a sudden you're wasting
Yeah.
energy, right?
Especially young horses
and
like
San,
that too. And
right.
for her to
There's your
win,
horse coming off the pace too, right, Sandy? Okay.
yes, and for her to win from the 10 post, you know what? It's really important too. She got a little bit of Pepita in her face, but at the same time, I'm sure she eased to the outside and had a clear shot from there.
Yep.
Actually, that's a perfect spot where she is right now. She can kind of gauge how the speed is going, how the horses are running up front, how much horse he has left. So it was a perfect spot for her to be in, but still you have to have the horse to get the job done. She's going to be really tough to beat in the Queen's Plate.
Justin Stein, like over the last few years, man, he's really come around because you look the way his career was, kind of
Yep.
static it seemed for a while, but man, lately he's been really really turned it on.
You know
Oh,
what?
and,
He's
and Joe, tough decision to make because he is the barn rider basically for Kevin Attard. So he could have chosen this one. Obviously, Steven, well, the Coronation Futurity jinx is still in effect because Steven won the Coronation Futurity last year. He will not be a part of the plate this year because suffered a setback. But he had that one. He could have ridden Riptide Rock. He ends up on the Philly Money for Row, but there are a bunch of horses of Kevin's that he could have ridden. So you just hope with your agent, Sandy, as you know, you do a little handicapping and hopefully you choose the right one. But I'm sure a ton of times you've chosen the wrong one, right? It happens.
We have. I remember my agent Colin Wick and myself many times. Colin wouldn't ask me about maybe some of the cheaper races when it came to the stake races. He'd ask my opinion, and yeah, we made the wrong decision. Maybe a third of the time. When you have your, it's almost like a coin flip sometimes. And he would ask me, and then we'd go over it, and sometimes we would make the wrong choice. But Justin Stein, he's always been a great jockey. I've always admired the way he's been able to ride, and all you need is a horse, and he's getting the horses
Yep.
now, and he's got a great shot to win a Queen's Plate.
And the Phillies have done well in the plate over the last few years. Lexi Lou, Holy Helena, Wonder
Yeah.
Godot. Yeah. So I mean, right. So yeah. And I think this filly here is looking like the horse to beat. If you guys were to pick one horse in this race, who would it be?
Sandy, you can go first.
Well, I have to go with the filly Money for Row.
Okay.
She looked good in winning the Oaks, as you mentioned. She was 2 seconds faster than the plate trial. So, and it looks like she can get the mile in the quarter too. You know, she came from out the pace, and it looks like she's a pretty easy horse to get to relax. So, I'm going to have to go with her.
All right. Samson Farms has done so much, as we all know. I mean, help put Canadian racing on the map, right? Winning that Breeders' Cup, first Canadian bred to do so. They got a couple of them, Dan Smartley, Chief Bearhart, and phenomenal story. And we all know of that dispersal sale. They're getting out of the business, but they've won this race 5 times before. Haven't won it since 2009. That was Eye of the Leopard. They've got 3 in here. You guys have talked about it. Tio Magico, Title Forces, Dance Mo. Tio Magico, I think, could give us a repeat of what we saw last year. He's all about speed. I know they've tried to change this guy's game. His DNA, it is what it is. Just let him do his thing. I think Contreras rolls this guy to the front. I know Contreras only wins plates with ladies. Holy Helena comes to mind, Inglorious, whatever the case may be. But anyways, I think Tio Magico has a chance to get to the front and wire this field. I know it's a tough ask. Doesn't happen often. It might happen in consecutive years. That's not my final decision, guys, but it's my decision as of right now.
Right. I mean, it's still early, right? Gail Cox training, and Title Forces as well. And Title Forces 5th in the Marine Stake. But Tio Magico won the Queenston. That was an impressive victory, right? So it looks pretty good. So now, Jason, you're part of the Power Rankings team. Tell us about that system. How does it work?
So basically, there's a few handicappers at pros, loosely pros with the air quotes attached, of course. But there's colleague Jeff Brad,
you're a pro.
A few others. You know, we tried to Ron Gurkink of the Daily Racing Forum. We just put together our top 5, and through the top 5 that each person gives, kind of a consensus. We come up with an official top 5, if you will. So it changes week to week, sometimes depending on what happens with these prep races, right? Originally, I had Steven pretty high on the list, and obviously with his status changing, he drops. Money for Row wasn't even on my list until she won the Oaks, and all of a sudden, that was her first win on synthetic. So all of a sudden, she jumps into the top 5. But it's a fluid situation, Joe, and for me, I'm going to keep sort of tinkering with my prognostication, if you will, until we actually get closer to plate day. So maybe the weekend. So we're kind of midweek right now. And I'm just going to wait. But if you twisted my arm and asked me as of right now, my number 1 would be Tio Magico. But Safe Conduct's in there. That's a great story. Mitch Kirshner, the breeder. I know this horse has been racing in the United States, but will cross the 49th. And Erad Ortiz, hey, does it get any better than that? Eclipse Award-winning rider, Erad Ortiz, scheduled to ride. Right. So, it is an absolute wide-open race. Can't stress that enough.
Yeah, very formidable. Very formidable. Now, the entry box officially closes Wednesday, so we don't have the official word until Wednesday. But I think it sounds like we got a pretty good feel. What about the event itself, Jay? It's been a couple of years since we had people at the track, for the Queen's Plate. What's that going to be like? What's it going to be like this year? What's the event itself?
Last year was a brand new experience. I mean, last year we had the at-home experience. And great on our marketing squad because obviously COVID, KO'd the Queen's Plate. Weird. First time ever. No fans in the stands, but they brought the Queen's Plate to the fans, which was nice. But any athlete will tell you, any broadcaster will tell you, you're doing a live sporting event. It's not the same without the fans. You can try to pump in whatever type of fake audio you want. It's not the same. So we're happy to be having the fans back. 50%, better than less than 50%, which is what we had last year. Things are pretty much sold out. You can still go to queensplate.com and get some grandstand seating and perhaps just general admission. But Jim Cuddy's going to be there performing, a few others, a ton of Olympians. Penny Alexiak, the most decorated of all time, and she's only 21, so she's got another, 4 Olympics in her. She'll be there as well. So, yeah, we're going to have a party. It won't be as extensive as it has in the past because some of the parties aren't going to happen just because of COVID and you need to social distance and everything else, right? So it'll still be a party, maybe not as big, but it will still be as beautiful.
So tell me, when is Jim Cuddy playing? When is that just right after the race? Is that how it's going to come?
He's supposed to have a
down?
performance, actually, yes, during the races. I'm not sure the exact timing, but we're on the air, CTV and TSN from 4:30 till 6. The performance will take place in between there. So we want to build up the drama. I'm not sure exactly what the marketing team has planned out. So I guess stay tuned. But it'll be a fabulous day. We're going to have a little bit of everything. As I said, some of the parties that usually happen, like I do believe the hats and horseshoes, I don't think that's happening this year, and a few other things. But again, we've got to condense it. But I'll take it over what we, I guess, didn't have last year.
Right. So we all remember you being on the horse. What's it like to be, to interview that rider on horseback? I mean, that's such a cool thing. You will be doing that again this year?
No. So I stopped that last year was the first year I didn't do that in years. And of course, Sandy did that for years. So Sandy, of course, had a firsthand look at that. But you know what? It gives you such a cool vantage point of the horses as they make that critical bend towards a 3/8 pole. The only thing I don't like is I don't get to see the finish because you're on the track, right? But yeah, last year we kind of changed things up. I co-host the show now with Laura Dykin, so I'll do the same interview, but this time from the desk. I miss being on the horses.
From the booth, yeah.
And one quick story was, I want to say maybe 2 Prince of Wales ago, I nearly got dropped, Sandy. I was backing up. I was riding a pony that didn't do anything for the entire year, and we were backing up. So backing up means you're going the wrong way. You're going the opposite way of the race. And my pony saw a camera person in the weeds there and dashed from the camera, and I nearly came off, and my pony would have ran right into the field, like head on. So,
wow. It was a race, right? Wow. Yeah, that wouldn't have been good.
It would have been good.
That would have went down.
So then maybe we should just keep you in the booth.
Yes. Leave the riding to the pros like Sandy.
Is anyone else going to be on the pony? Is anyone else going to do the pony interviews?
No, so I'll just do the interview from the desk. I think that's the plan last time I checked, unless that changes. But we'll just put a mic on Rob Love, who is our head outrider, and I'll be able to converse with the winning rider. So, yeah, that'll be the way it'll happen this year.
Or get a pony that's been used every day,
Yeah, well, that would be nice. As you know, so I said, when's the last time somebody was on this pony? They said, last year. I said, great. So this is the first time this is, this horse has been under tack in a year. There's a huge crowd out there. Oh, yeah, it was something. This horse was
what could go wrong?
Kicking.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you for being on the show today. And, of course, Classica Imports has a gift certificate for both of you guys. So go see Jeff. He's got some great Italian threads for you. Next time you're in town, Sandy, you have to come by
Jeff.
and
Jeff's
check
a good
it out.
guy.
Yeah, Jeff is phenomenal. Yeah, and listen, it's going to be a fun time. We'll all be watching and maybe betting a couple of bob on money for Roe in my case and Sandy's case, and Tio Magico. Hey, there's your exactor. But thanks again, guys, and we'll talk again soon.
Hey,
thank you, Joe.
Anytime, thank you, Joe. Yeah, and great to see you, Sandy.
It's going to be a great race. Good to see you too, Jason. And I wish I could be there this year, but I'll be watching it on TV. But next year for sure. As you mentioned, Joe, my 2 boys, Bradley and Russell, I haven't seen them for like a year and a half. So hopefully one of these days things will open up a little bit more and be able to get to see them. But great to be on your show, Joe, and really enjoy all your shows.
Thank you, buddy. It's a pleasure having you on. Yeah, you're just you're a great guy and a Canadian legend, and it's awesome having you here. So, and remember, guys, we're all in it together.
Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com. Slow play. It's a slippery slope. First you go looking for that lost ball, and then everything goes sideways. There are a lot of golfers on the course. Make certain of your point of entry, look quickly, and move on. Remember, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Find anything, Bob?
Not yet.
Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Joe Tilley Sports is brought to you by COSA, Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness horse people racing at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAonline.com and check out COSA TV on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest harness news and live action updates. Live racing year-round. Go to hpibet.com for all your wagering options. Become a member today, and your first bet is free. That's hpibet.com.
All right, time now for my COSA Swiss pick of the week. You know, last week we were Mohawk for Thursday night 7th race, the $80,000 final of the Millard Farm Trot for 2-year-old colts. I took World at Wardeo, the 10 horse, who broke early. I also did a 4-8-10 exact and tracked a box. The 8 horse, Delgado, had the lead. The 4 was second, but Devereaux Sealster with Trevor Henry, trotting Trevor in that buggy, found room between horses, just snuck in at the wire. The 5-8 exact returned $201.50. Well, this week, I'm looking at Tuesday night's 9th race, the $103,000 Ontario Sire Stakes Gold Final for 2-year-old filly pacers. And I like the 2 horse, Prohibition Legal. James McDonald drives, $5 win place bet on that. I'll also take an exactor box with the 4, Cheryl Shadow, an 8 Balance, and a $1 tractor Key the 2 and 8 with 248 and 2468. My bankroll is $172. This bet's going to cost me $28. Let's see what happens. The Ontario Star Stakes Gold Finals are coming up. 2-year-old colt pacers. 3-year-olds take center stage this coming Saturday. For all the racing updates, visit COSA TV on Facebook. Go to hpibet.com for your wagering options and check out the stakes schedule. Well, the Raptors have helped give Kyle Lowry that new home he wanted with another shot at the championship. The Raps worked out a sign and trade with the Miami Heat. In return, they get veteran guard Goran Dragic and 6'9" forward Precious Achiuwa. Although Dragic hasn't exactly been enamored with the move to Toronto, he wasn't shy in putting down the Raps and saying he'd prefer to be with his pal Luka Doncic in Dallas. The best shot Dragic has of moving anywhere is if he plays his butt off and shuts up and stay here in Toronto. Sad to see the Bulldog moving on, but the Raps are in rebuild mode, and one day Lowry's banner will be lifted to the rafters at Scotiabank Arena. General Manager Bobby Webster explains why the club made the deal rather than just taking the cap space.
Was there even a contract to offer him at the start of free agency, or were you aware that this was the direction that things were probably going? Without,
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. I think, you probably have to go back to, the second half of our season. And I think you kind of, you could see the direction that the team was going. And then obviously, jumping up in the draft and getting the 4th pick, I think, philosophically, I think going young became kind of a more desirable path. And so, I wouldn't even, kind of connected with Kyle in that sense. I just think that philosophically, that's where we were going as an organization, and we thought that was the best, best path for us. Next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
The decision to work on a sign and trade with him instead of going under the cap and going into free agency with cap space, how difficult was that? And what were you considering when you ultimately made the decision you did?
Yeah, that's the calculus, right? So you're looking at, how much cap space we could have opened up, and then the types of players we could have gotten. And so I think, as most of us saw, the price tags were pretty high on a lot of those free agents. And so I think going into it, we had targeted a few of them that we'd potentially go after. But once the clock struck 6:01 and we saw some of the numbers, I think it made more sense to use the flexibility that we created, not necessarily in cap space, but just, financially to be able to take on those contracts. And then Precious is a huge part of this deal for us. We really liked him last year in the draft. So I think that was for us a huge get in the sense of a young player that we like and that fits. And at the same time, we got, Goran, he's a legend. And I think from that perspective, he still plays at a high level. He provides a lot of leadership and veteran kind of steadiness on a team.
Yeah, Goran's so smart up. Raps also made a move to solidify the franchise moving forward. They ended the speculation that a Masai Ujiri might be moving on. The architect of the title agreed to a multi-year contract to be the club's vice chairman and team president. The Raps also have signed all three of their draft picks this year. Well, the Jays were able to salvage a game in Seattle thanks to a little bit of pop. Teoscar Hernandez and Randall Grichuk both popped their 20th homers. That brings to 5 the number of Jays who have smacked at least 20 big bops this year. Marcus Semien clubbed his 27th. Corey Dickerson also went deep, his first as a Jay, as the Jays salvaged that game against the Mariners, staying close in the wild card race. After a couple dates in Washington, the Bluebirds will be back in the very friendly confines to face the Tigers and the White Sox. Well, the Argos fell to 1-1 on the season. Interesting that they
CFL 2021
back against the Blue Bombers after McLeod Bethel Thompson looked so solid in the season opener against Calgary. Barbuckle was okay, but Zach Collaros completed 32 of 40 passes for 292 yards and a pair of touchdowns, including this beauty, as the defending champs buried the Boatmen 20-7. Meanwhile, the Ticats dropped to 0-2 after getting thumped by the Rough Riders. Canada's Roger Sloan has earned his share of second spot at the PGA Tour's Wyndham Championship. He lost to Kevin Kistner in a 6-man playoff, but Sloan's best finish, second, allows him to get into the FedEx Cup playoffs, and he keeps his tour card for next season. Stephen Ames and Mike Weir both cracked the top 10 of the PGA Champions event in Calgary. Canada's Gabriel Dabrowski pulled off a first. The 29-year-old from Ottawa teamed up with Luisa Stefani of Brazil to knock off Darya Jarek of Croatia and Andrea Klepic of Slovenia 6-3, 6-4, as Dabrowski becomes the first Canuck to capture the women's doubles title at the National Bank Open, formerly the Rogers Cup. Now, we close with a look at the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. I highly recommend them all. A reminder, the show is now available on Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcast, and Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network and Zingo TV. Thanks once again to our guests, Sandy Hawley and Jason Portuondo, for being on the show and providing us with a great Queen's Plate preview. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week when Olympic judoka Shadi Elnahas drops in with his coach, along with former WWE superstar Anthony Corelli. We'll see you then.
Get Aldo at RE/MAX Crossroads. Do you want to buy or sell a home? Could 31 years of real estate experience help you? Why not speak to an amazing team that loves to overpromise and overdeliver? Call 416-GET-ALDO or visit www.getaldo.com to find out what next-level real estate looks like. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today, and let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Brought to you by MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business consulting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the needs of our clients in the private, public, and non-for-profit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to doing business and personalized strategies to help people and organizations succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Toronto, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, our team is here to support you. Visit MNP.ca to learn more. Make your next getaway a spectacular one at this luxury cottage on Rice Lake near Bewdley from Verona Real Estate Group. Perfect for a large or extended family retreat, an ideal location for any corporate morale-boosting getaway, employee bonding session, a week here and you're set. A beautiful, spacious building for up to 10 guests, featuring 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, state-of-the-art kitchen facilities, and more. Enjoy swimming, excellent fishing options, just an hour and a half from Toronto. Book for any and all seasons. Fully winterized, ice fishing, cross-country ski trails, and downhill skiing available nearby. Book today by calling Amir at 647-657-6571 or email amir@veronarealestategroup.com.